The shuttle drifted toward the massive ring-shaped station like a scrap of dust approaching a silent, patient predator. The Orion spire hovered above the mottled surface of Veskar 9, lights glimmering along its curved hull like a living constellation. Trade banners in dozens of alien scripts cycled across its exterior screens. Commander Rhett Calder stood at the shuttle's viewing pane, hands loosely clasped behind his back. He kept his breathing measured, keeping the old habits, control, observation, discipline. A blinking notification pulsed across the passenger display. Welcome, delegates. All humans must stay within permitted zones unless escorted by security. Rhett exhaled slowly and shook his head once. Not surprised. Not bothered. Just noted. The shuttle doors hissed open. Heat from the docking tunnel washed across his face, carrying the scent of ionized metal and ozone. The station was colder than Earth, but Veskar air cycles brought humidity, leaving the metallic tang sharp in his nose. He stepped out. Aliens of different shapes and heights filled the corridor. Some towered with chitinous armor plates shifting like living shields. Others hovered on anti-grav repulsors, fluid and translucent. Conversations dropped into silence as the crowd noticed the human. A tall insectoid worker nudged his companion and whispered, mandibles twitching. "Deathworlder," another voice followed, dripping sarcasm. "How quaint." "A primitive mammal." Rhett ignored them. His eyes swept exits, cameras, guard placements, airflow vents. He cataloged escape routes without conscious effort. It wasn't paranoia, it was training. The intercom crackled. Human liaison Calder. "Report to security processing." He walked toward the checkpoint. The security barrier looked more like a fortress than a welcome station. Arched bulkheads, shock cannons and wall brackets, high-voltage stun grids. The checkpoint control panel glowed purple beneath a massive alien hand. Its owner leaned over it, scanning the crowd. Security Chief Varkesh Tor, almost 8 feet tall. Dark scales with a sheen like oil on steel. A natural bone ridge ran from his forehead down his spine, ending in curved spines along his arms. His eyes resembled polished obsidian, flat, black, unreadable. Varkesh looked Rhett over with the expression of someone inspecting defective livestock. "State designation. Commander Rhett Calder," he replied, voice calm. The chief's lip curled. "Commander? Humans give authority to the weak? I earned it." "Unlikely." Varkesh waved a scanning wand around Rhett. The device buzzed, showing physiological data. A datapad flashed with a highlighted warning. Human. Category D. Deathworld species. High physical aggression potential. Extreme endurance. Unpredictable neurology. Nearby aliens murmured. A feathered one leaned toward its companion. Category D means uncontrollable. Why bring such a creature here? Rhett turned slightly, meeting the creature's eyes. "Creatures can speak for themselves," the alien shoved back, startled. Varkesh laughed. "Humans respond to every slight, emotional, primitive." Rhett remained silent. He didn't need to defend himself. The chief pushed a datapad across the counter. "Sign the liability waiver. If you are injured due to your own species' typical recklessness, the station is not responsible." Rhett glanced at the document. Pages of legal disclaimers designed to make humans seem volatile. He signed. "Happy?" Varkesh leaned closer, voice thick with amusement. "Entertain me, human. Say something threatening. We enjoy your tiny attempts at intimidation." Rhett lifted his eyes to meet the alien's gaze, steady and unwavering. "I'm here for diplomacy, not entertainment." Varkesh dismissed him with a snort. "Proceed. And try not to startle anyone with your enthusiasm." The crowd laughed. The diplomatic concourse was a wide stretch of polished floor bordering a panoramic view of space. Delegates floated on grav cushions or strode in ceremonial armor. Holograms projected trade agreements, fleet positions, and planetary scans. Rhett moved toward the observation deck, hoping for a moment of quiet. Instead, a group of young recruits in silver security armor blocked his path. Their armor bore the symbol of the Teralcon military caste. One of them elbowed another, staring at Rhett with smug fascination. "Is it true humans chew tree bark for pleasure?" Rhett blinked. "Gum. Is that an Earth word for bark?" He didn't bother answering. A second recruit leaned in, eyes bright. And you can survive losing half your blood volume, yes? No. Technically, yes. But he wasn't feeding their curiosity. Another leaned forward like a schoolyard bully discovering a new animal. Prove it. Let us test your endurance. Security chief says humans enjoy trials. Rhett felt something move behind him, a shadow that filled the oxygen of the corridor. Recruits, Varkesh growled. Do not corner the Deathworld specimen. It might bite. They stepped aside. Varkesh studied Rhett with a new expression, not mockery. Curiosity laced with appetite. You carry yourself like a predator. I carry myself like someone trained, and that is what concerns me. Rhett started walking again. Varkesh followed with heavy steps. There will be a demonstration later, the chief said. Combat trials. Observers enjoy spectacle. I'm not here to fight. You misunderstand. Varkesh leaned in, voice dropping to a purr. You are not invited to fight. You are required. Rhett stopped, calm voice. Controlled tone. No. The word hit harder than a shout. Silence stretched between them. Varkesh stepped closer. The lights caught the sheen along his scales. His bone spines flexed, a subtle display of dominance. You are on my station, human. I can order you to the arena. Rhett's jaw tightened a fraction. And I can refuse. Gasps from nearby delegates. No one refused a Teralcon security chief. Varkesh smiled. You fear humiliation. I respect diplomacy. Then bleed for their amusement, Varkesh said. Or leave in disgrace. Rhett turned toward him, shoulders loose, eyes steady. You mistake patience for fear. Varkesh barked a laugh. And you mistake my tolerance for negotiation. A deep, vibrating tone echoed through the concourse. A voice from the overhead speakers boomed, All delegates report to Training Arena 4 for compulsory demonstration. It wasn't coincidence. Varkesh had planned this. Rhett exhaled. Fine, one trial. Then we're done. As he walked toward the arena entrance, he caught the faint reflection in the metal wall. His reflection, calm, controlled. A man who had faced worse than bullies wearing armor. The arena doors slid open. The space was circular, caged with hollow barriers. Delegates filled tiered seating. A hush fell as the human entered. Varkesh stood opposite him, selecting a training spear from the rack. Its edge shimmered with shock energy. He tossed a second spear toward Rhett's feet. It clattered against the floor. Pick it up, Deathworlder. Entertain us. Rhett looked down at the weapon. Then up, meeting Varkesh's hungry stare. He could feel every eye in the arena focused on him. Instead of picking the spear up, he crouched, lifted it gently, walked forward, and set it on the rack. He spoke without raising his voice. You don't want this fight. The arena fell silent. Varkesh froze. This wasn't fear. It was worse. It was doubt. Rhett turned his back to the watching crowd and walked to the center of the ring. Hands open, stance relaxed. Last warning, he said quietly. Walk away. For the first time, the security chief didn't laugh. He bared his teeth. Begin. And the arena lights snapped to blood red. Red hazard lights pulsed through the arena, casting every face in harsh shadows. Delegates leaned forward in anticipation. Eager for violence they assumed would be short and one-sided. Varkesh flexed his claws and rolled his shoulders. The shock spear hummed with lethal blue current. He looked like a creature born inside a storm. Rhett stood in the center of the ring, hands relaxed at his sides. He didn't bother with a combat stance. The hollow barrier sealed with a flash. The arena floor vibrated, locking into a hardened state. A distorted voice boomed across the speakers. Begin! Varkesh lunged. The alien chief moved like a charging manta, wide wings of bone plating cutting through the air. The spear tip aimed at Rhett's chest. Rhett didn't flinch. He stepped sideways. Just one precise shift. The spear stabbed nothing but air. Varkesh stumbled, caught off balance, barely recovered. A rumble of confusion moved through the crowd. Rhett. You're telegraphing your movement. Varkesh snarled and swung the spear in a wide arc. The energy blade hissed. Rhett leaned back, not dodging in panic, but flowing like water around a rock. The blade passed inches from his throat. Rhett didn't counter-strike. He simply placed one hand on the spear shaft and redirected the momentum. Varkesh nearly dropped it. Gasps erupted. Why isn't he attacking? Deathworlders are supposed to be violent. Rhett heard every word. None mattered. He could feel Varkesh's emotions rippling across the arena, rage turning into something more volatile. Uncertainty. Varkesh regained footing and jabbed again. Faster! Rhett pivoted, nudged Varkesh's elbow, and stepped out of range. Varkesh's expression twisted. Fight! Rhett's voice stayed level. I told you, you don't want this. Varkesh bared his teeth, spines rising along his arms. You refuse because you fear injury. No, Rhett said calmly. I refuse because I know what happens if I stop holding back. A hush fell. Varkesh roared and charged once more. Spear angled downward for a bone-crushing strike. Rhett moved. It was almost gentle. One step to the inside of Varkesh's guard. Fingers brushing the alien's wrist, guiding the strike aside. The spear smashed into the barrier instead, sending sparks across the edge. Before Varkesh could react, Rhett reached up and tapped a nerve cluster beneath the alien's. Jaw of Varkesh's hand spasmed. The spear clattered to the floor. Collective inhales shook the seats. Rhett didn't pick it up. He nudged it away with his foot. Varkesh stared at him. What did you... Human biology classifies us as soft mammalian bipeds. That's incorrect. Rhett circled slowly, voice firm. Humans are persistent predators. We don't overpower. We outlast, Varkesh growled. You use tricks, Rhett shook his head. I use control. Varkesh swung with his claws. A desperate slash meant to tear flesh. Rhett caught the wrist midair and twisted. Not enough to break, just enough to immobilize. Varkesh hit the floor. Shock rippled through the arena. Rhett released his hold and stepped back. Stand. Varkesh scrambled up, face burning with humiliation. He launched into a flurry of wild attacks, slashes, grabs, a tail whip. Rhett saw each movement before it formed. He ducked under the tail and swept Varkesh's leg. The chief crashed down again, hitting the floor with enough force to rattle the arena tiles. Aliens began whispering. He isn't attacking. He's letting the chief exhaust himself. Varkesh panted, breath ragged. You mock me. No. Rhett crouched near him, voice low. I'm teaching you something you've never learned. Varkesh tried to rise. Rhett placed 2 fingers on his sternum and pushed him back down, effortless. The crowd went silent. Rhett leaned close enough that only Varkesh could hear. Humans don't fight to win! Varkesh's pupils widened. Rhett stood and addressed the arena, voice steady, projecting without shouting. Your records say we are aggressive. That's wrong. We are survivors. He looked directly into Varkesh's eyes, not hostile, just honest. You think strength is dominance. We know strength is restraint. Varkesh's pride cracked. He surged up one last time, grabbing Rhett by the throat with both hands. Rhett didn't resist. The crowd leaned in, eager for blood. Varkesh hissed into his face. Submit. Rhett's voice never wavered. 5 words. Varkesh blinked. What? Rhett leaned close, eyes steady, calm as winter. You don't want this fight! Something primal ruptured in Varkesh. He released Rhett and stumbled back as if shoved. His claws shook. Every alien in the arena stared at him, no longer admiring but questioning. Varkesh's voice cracked. Why does that shake me? Rhett answered with the same steady truth he'd carried since boot camp. Because you know I'm not the dangerous one. It's what I represent. Varkesh's breath hitched. What do you represent? Rhett held his gaze. Humanity. A message pinged on the arena display. Emergency notification. Taralcon security. Chief is compromising diplomacy. Cease combat or face removal, the audience murmured. Confusion turned to disbelief. Varkesh had never been warned before. Ever. Rhett didn't smile. End this now! Walk away. Varkesh's pride ruptured into pure fury. He seized the discarded spear and reactivated the crackling energy blade. "You think you can order me? I am chief of this station." Rhett's voice softened. "You're not listening," Varkesh charged, spear whipping down in a lethal arc. Rhett moved faster than anything Varkesh could register, a sharp pivot, a surge of controlled strength. Rhett trapped the spear shaft under his arm, shifted his weight, and used Varkesh's momentum to send him crashing onto his back. The spear flew across the arena, skidding to a stop. Before Varkesh could blink, Rhett knelt, forearm pressed to the alien's throat, not choking, but reminding him how easily it could end. Rhett whispered into the stunned silence. "Humans aren't terrifying because we're violent. We're terrifying because we choose not to be." Varkesh's limbs went slack. The arena remained silent. Not even breathing could be heard. Rhett stood, walked to the center of the ring, and waited. He didn't raise his hands in victory. He didn't gloat. He just breathed evenly. Varkesh stayed down, not because he was pinned, because he finally understood. The announcer spoke, voice trembling. Demonstration concluded. Human wins. Rhett removed his hand from the chief's chest and helped him stand, a gesture of dignity. Varkesh didn't look anyone in the eyes as he left the arena. For the first time, aliens didn't stare at Rhett with ridicule. They watched with respect or fear. Rhett walked toward the exit. He didn't celebrate. He simply whispered, "I warned you." Rhett left the arena through the maintenance corridor, ignoring the congratulations echoing from the stands. Applause wasn't what he wanted. Respect wasn't what he needed. He wanted peace, and peace on this station suddenly felt fragile. The corridor lights flickered as he walked. A maintenance drone hovered at the ceiling, tracking movement. It projected a calm message. "Human Delegate Calder, proceed to Diplomatic Hall for debrief." Debrief. Meaning, explain why a human embarrassed the security chief. Rhett exhaled and kept walking. He didn't hear footsteps behind him. He felt them. A shift in air pressure. The subtle vibration of heavy mass closing the distance. Varkesh. Rhett kept his pace steady. "I thought the demonstration ended." The Taralkan's voice sounded different now. Quiet, strained. "You humiliated me in front of the ruling council." Rhett didn't turn. "I didn't humiliate you. You humiliated yourself." A flash of movement. The bone-spined arm slammed into the wall, blocking Rhett's path. The impact dented the metal panel and sent a shudder through the corridor. Varkesh leaned close, voice low and trembling. "I could end you right here." Rhett's reply was calm. "You already tried." Varkesh inhaled sharply. "Why didn't you kill me?" For the first time since they met, Rhett turned to face him. Varkesh expected anger. Instead, he found steady clarity behind human eyes. "Because if I hurt you, I lose. If I kill you, humanity loses." Varkesh blinked. "Lose? You defeated me." Rhett stepped back and nodded toward the crushed panel under Varkesh's arm. "You think victory is domination?" He tapped the side of his head. "Humans win here." Varkesh dropped his arm. The confidence that once radiated from him had fractured into confusion. Rhett continued down the hallway. Varkesh followed, but slower this time, as though unsure of the next step. Diplomatic Hall. The hall was a dome of amber glass overlooking the planetary storms below. Delegates filled curved seating, whispering in hundreds of languages. Floating drones recorded everything, projecting subtitles in real time. At the center, dais, stood diplomat Riley Chen, a crystalline being with shifting facets that caught the light like prisms. As Rhett entered, Riley raised a hand. "Commander Calder, you will answer to the council." Rhett stepped into the illuminated circle. Riley's tone was polished and cold. "This station forbids violence. Yet you engaged in combat." Rhett held the diplomat's gaze. "I refused every provocation." A Kelvari delegate leaned forward, tentacles twitching. "You still defeated our security chief," Rhett answered without hesitation. "He attacked me with lethal intent." Varkesh's voice echoed from the doorway. "He spared me," whispers erupted. The council turned. Varkesh stepped forward, not towering in dominance, but walking with deliberate restraint. His expression had changed. No arrogance, no dismissive smirk. Just truth. Rhett watched him carefully, ready for another fight if needed. Varkesh faced the council. The human had every opportunity to kill me. He chose not to, a Silex ambassador hissed, its voice like crackling static. Why? Varkesh swallowed. Because humans believe power is responsibility. Rhett cleared his throat, not to speak, but to draw attention to what needed to be understood. In my world, surviving doesn't make you superior. It makes you accountable. A projection flickered above the chamber. Stream footage from the combat trial. The moment Rhett pinned Varkesh to the ground. The moment Rhett whispered the truth. Humans aren't terrifying because we're violent. We're terrifying because we choose not to be. The chamber fell still. Riley Chen studied Rhett with new eyes. Explain what that means. Rhett stepped forward, voice steady. Earth is a death world. Everything tries to kill us. Storms, predators, starvation. We evolved persistence, endurance, adaptation. On Earth, giving up means dying. He let the weight of the next word settle. That instinct follows us into everything we do. The hall absorbed the meaning. Persistence wasn't aggression. It was survival. A small, timid voice spoke up. A juvenile Eryxian observer. Young, bright blue fur fluffed in nervous spikes. Is that why you warned him? Rhett nodded. I don't want respect from fear. Varkesh stared at him, stunned. Rhett added softly, strength without restraint is just destruction. Varkesh lowered his head. You showed restraint even when I sought to break you. It wasn't restraint, Rhett corrected. It was choice. Varkesh's eyes widened. Riley Chen conferred silently with the council through neural link. Holographic status bars pulsed. Then the diplomat faced the chamber. The council recognizes humanity as a sovereign equal. A sharp inhale rippled across the room. Rhett blinked. He hadn't expected that. Varkesh turned to him, voice low. I mocked you because I feared you. Now I respect you because I understand you. Rhett offered a single nod, not forgiveness. Understanding. Varkesh's regret. The hall emptied slowly. Delegates approached Rhett, not with caution but curiosity. Some offered greetings. Others bowed. Varkesh remained behind. He spoke quietly, without the booming voice he used earlier. On my world, strength means dominance. Today I learned strength can mean control. Rhett didn't gloat. He didn't need to. You learned something harder than fighting. Varkesh tilted his head. What? Humility. Varkesh huffed a sound that might have been a laugh. Humility. From a Deathworlder. Rhett walked past him toward the exit. Just before the doors opened, he stopped, looking back over his shoulder. We try peace first. That's what makes us dangerous. Varkesh's eyes widened, not in fear, in understanding. Observation deck. The station lights dimmed, simulating nighttime. Rhett stood at the glass rail, watching Veskar 9's storm swirl far below. The stars outside were quiet. The station, once foreign and hostile, felt less so. Footsteps approached. Varkesh again, but unarmed this time. He stood beside the human, gaze fixed ahead. I regret underestimating you. Rhett didn't look at him. Don't regret learning. Regret refusing to learn sooner. Varkesh nodded once, the sharp movement oddly respectful. If the galaxy ever wages war against your kind, I will remind them of this lesson. Rhett finally turned. And what lesson is that? Varkesh bowed his head. You don't want this fight. Rhett's expression softened, not with pride, but with relief. Good, then we understand each other. For the first time, Varkesh extended a hand, not as a challenge, as an equal. Rhett accepted it, and the station cameras captured the moment humanity earned its place, not through domination, not through force, but through choice. Final line, respect humanity, not because we are dangerous, but because we choose not to be. Days passed, but the station couldn't stop replaying one moment. You don't want this fight. The footage circulated through every deck. Delegates slowed in corridors just to catch a glimpse of Rhett. Alien crews, once amused by humans, now watched him with cautious respect. But Rhett didn't celebrate. He didn't bask in attention. He trained. At dawn, before the station's artificial sunrise, he jogged the ring path that circled the habitat dome. The distant hum of station engines mixed with faint birdsong from synthetic aviaries. He inhaled deeply, grounding himself. Varkesh's shadow appeared at the corner of his vision. Rhett didn't stop running, but he slowed enough to acknowledge him. "You're early!" Varkesh matched his pace, claws tapping light metal flooring. "You said training begins at dawn." Rhett raised an eyebrow. "I didn't say you were invited." "You told me strength without control is destruction," Varkesh replied. "I wish to learn control." Rhett stopped and faced him fully. The Terralcon had never looked smaller, not physically, but in vulnerability. Rhett pointed to an empty area overlooking the transparent dome where stars glittered. "Stretch. Then stance. No weapons." Varkesh flinched at the last instruction. "No weapons?" he echoed. Rhett's tone grew sharper. "If you need a weapon to feel strong, you aren't." Varkesh swallowed his pride. "Understood." Training floor. Observation deck. 3, they stood opposite each other on polished flooring. Beneath them, Veskar 9 rolled like a giant storm-tossed marble. Rhett took a calm stance, feet shoulder-width apart, one hand open. Varkesh copied him, awkward at first. Rhett stepped closer. "Pressure comes from the hips. Your balance begins there." Varkesh adjusted, but imbalance remained. His center of gravity was too far forward. "Stop leaning into intimidation," Rhett said. "Balance isn't about looking threatening." Varkesh inhaled, adjusting again. "Better?" "Better," Rhett said. Again, the exercise repeated. Pivot, step, breath. Rhett corrected small mistakes without judgment, and Varkesh listened with uncharacteristic patience. After several repetitions, Rhett asked quietly, "Why learn restraint now?" Varkesh hesitated. "Because losing to you did not weaken me. It showed me how weak I already was." Rhett studied him. The station's most feared officer finally honest. "You aren't weak. You were taught the wrong definition of strength." Varkesh nodded and took another stance. Again. They trained until station lights shifted to day mode. Diplomatic council chamber later, Rhett stood behind a long crescent table with other species representatives. A holographic star map hovered over the center, marked with flickering red symbols. Riley Chen, the crystalline diplomat, addressed the room. "A rogue fleet fired on a Terran research convoy. Unknown motive. The council must assign escorts to retrieve the survivors." Rhett's fists tightened. "Casualties?" Jore paused. "1 vessel destroyed. 2 adrift." They sent a transmission before the attack ended. A distorted audio clip played. Human voices strained, overlapping alarms. "We are not combat equipped." "Civilians aboard?" Static. Then, "If anyone can hear, please," the transmission cut. Rhett exhaled slowly through his nose. "Give me a drop team and coordinates." Riley Chen shook her head. "You are a liaison, not military." "I have command training. Not on this station." Rhett's jaw tensed. "You want peace? Then defend those who choose it," a booming voice echoed behind them. "He does not go alone." Varkesh stepped into the chamber, armor replaced by a plain tactical vest bearing no rank markings. Delegates reacted instantly. "He cannot be trusted. The chief attacked a delegate last week." "Now they walk together?" Rhett didn't look back at Varkesh. "I don't need protection." "No," Varkesh said. "You need someone to open locked doors." Jore's voice slowed, crystalline facets shifting with thought. "If this mission escalates to conflict," Rhett cut in. "It won't. I negotiate first," Varkesh added, surprisingly calm. And I restrained myself. That line hit harder than any threat. The council studied them, human and alien side by side. Finally, Jore nodded. "You leave within the hour." Shuttle bay, pre-launch Rhett checked gear racks while Varkesh inspected flight harnesses. Marines from 2 species waited nearby, Nulax troopers with shifting carapaces and a silent trio of Eryxian scouts. Rhett pointed at Varkesh's equipment. "Lose the chest blades." "Diplomacy first." Varkesh unfastened the curved bone plates. "Removed." "Also the forearm spikes." Varkesh frowned. "Those are part of my body." Rhett held eye contact. "So is impulse." "You're learning to manage both." Varkesh hesitated, then folded the spikes flat against his arms, a biological ability unused for years. His breathing changed as though shedding that armor cost more than effort. Rhett nodded once. "Good," a Eryxian scout whispered to Rhett. "He follows your command," Rhett responded quietly. "He follows respect." Shuttle Phoenix, en route Varkesh sat opposite Rhett. For the first time, no challenge existed between them. The shuttle's engines hummed, stars streaking into elongated lines through the viewport. Rhett checked mission telemetry. "Research convoy distress beacon is intermittent. Could be damage, could be interference." Varkesh leaned forward. "Could be a trap." Rhett didn't deny it. "Then we adapt." Varkesh stared at him a long moment. "When I used violence, I felt powerful. When I trained with control, I felt peace." He paused. "Is this why humans whisper before battle?" Rhett tilted his head. "Whisper? I heard Marines describe your mindset. Quiet is dangerous." Rhett considered the statement, then answered softly. "We whisper because panic wastes oxygen and energy. Panic is a luxury prey animals have. Predators stay calm." Varkesh absorbed that slowly. "You whisper." "Not to hide fear?" "No," Rhett replied. "To conserve focus." Varkesh leaned back, processing. "I never understood. Now I want to." A beeping alarm cut into the conversation. "We have visual on the convoy. Impact zone." The convoy hung like torn cloth above a green-blue gas giant. One ship was intact but silent. Another drifted without power, hull scarred from weapon burns. A pirate frigate latched onto the primary vessel, docking clamps piercing deep into its frame. Rhett stood, voice steady. "Boarding." Varkesh moved beside him, no longer towering, just present. "Rhett," he said quietly. "If I lose control," Rhett met his gaze. "You won't. How can you be certain?" "Because you asked that question." The shuttle locked onto the hull with a metallic clang. The hatch opened. Smoke. Dim emergency lights. Floating debris. Silence broken only by distant groans of twisting metal. Rhett scanned ahead. "Varkesh, non-lethal." Varkesh nodded. "Understood." They moved. 2 pirates rounded the corner, raising shock rifles. Rhett reacted first, ducking low and sweeping one off balance while Varkesh disabled the other with a single calculated strike. No excessive force, no rage, just control. They advanced deeper. Human voices echoed from below, frantic but alive. "Help! Children aboard!" Rhett accelerated down the ladder, landing silently. A sealed door separated them from the civilians. A blast shield locked into place. Rhett tapped the control panel. "Manual override won't respond." Varkesh stepped forward. "Then I open it." He placed his palm on the reinforced door, claws retracting. Muscles along his arms tightened, but he applied pressure along hinges, not brute force. The metal creaked, then surrendered. The door slid open. Inside, a group of humans stared in disbelief, eyes wide at the sight of both men. A child whispered, "Mom." "Is that a human and a monster together?" Varkesh froze. Rhett crouched to the child's level. "He's not a monster. He's my teammate." The child smiled. Varkesh's eyes softened. Human mothers gathered their children. Marines escorted them back to the shuttle. Varkesh watched them leave, voice rough. This is strength." Rhett placed a hand on his arm. "This is purpose." Departure back on the shuttle, humans waved through the windows. Varkesh stood silently as a child pressed a tiny hand to the glass. He pressed his palm back, carefully mirroring the gesture. Rhett strapped in. Varkesh murmured, "You whispered before battle." "I whisper now." "Because I understand," Rhett nodded. "When humans whisper, it means we're deciding to be gentle." Varkesh breathed deeply. "Then may we never raise our voices."